Hello, I'm Ernest Coney from the Corporation to Develop Communities of Tampa, and you're watching Tampa Bay Community Network.
Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. And we have another agency today that works very closely with government agencies. And our guest is Ernest Coney. And Ernest, you're the president and CEO of Corporation to Develop Communities. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's quite an organization.
Yes, I'm really excited to be here, and I want to say thank you, Bill, for the invite, and thank you to TBCN as well, and all the great work that you guys do.
Well, you know, I guess a lot of times we'll refer to it as CDC rather than Corporation to Develop Communities. But occasionally we'll go back to that so that you all won't forget the whole name. But if we were looking it up in the phone book, what would it be?
It would be Corporation to Develop Communities of Tampa, Incorporated. Quite a mouthful.
How long have you been with the organization?
I've been with the organization since 2006, but actually I've been around the organization since inception.
All your life?
All my life. Of course, my mother, Chloe Coney, was our founder and first CEO as well. So I've seen it go from an idea, an aspiration, a thought, getting written down on paper, to actually seeing it turn into an organization with $6 million in assets and working with the collaborative partners all throughout Hillsborough County.
How old is the organization?
So we'll be celebrating 23 years.
23 years.
Yes.
So do you remember the early days?
I remember the early days. I was young and in college, and I remember those early days. And I remember going through Tampa and seeing what she saw. And one of the reasons she was inspired to create the CDC of Tampa was she ran into one of her old friends. And basically she told her, Chloe, you know, the neighborhood is not the same as it was when we grew up in the neighborhood.
Nothing is.
Nothing is, right? So if you remember in the early 90s what was going on, there was a lot of drug activities. Crack cocaine was prevalent in the neighborhoods, high dropout rates, high crime. All those things were really going on in the neighborhoods in the early 90s. And that really set the structure to create the CDC of Tampa, that really out of that crucible of despair, the community would come together and say, hey, we want to rise up like a phoenix and create something good out of something that most people think is only despair.
I really like that idea, that analogy. You know, think sometimes you have to tear down to build up.
Exactly. And that's what we did. And one of the things that we oftentimes talk about is hope. That, you know, the difference between an organization or a neighborhood or a person who never advances is somewhere they give up hope. So as a community, as an organization, one of the things that we really focus on is the hope factor, to let them know that together you always have somebody who's going to help inspire you. Together we can reach our goals. And if we don't give up hope, there's always a better tomorrow.
I think hope has to come in hand with work though, right?
Definitely. Definitely.
You just can't hope for something. You got to work towards it. Definitely. And I think that's what I like most about your organization. You folks maybe don't even know what CDC of Tampa does, and we're going to explain that. But that's a whole big portion of it, letting people know that there's something beyond what they currently have.
Definitely. So that's really how we started. So we started with a needs assessment of the community, and what the community said was, we really want to know how we can help ourselves find a job.
And this all happened while you were off at Dartmouth.
And this all happened while I was at Dartmouth.
This is an old Ivy Leaguer, by the way, speaking. You can hear it in his voice.
So we were really excited that the community came back and really talked about, you know, 4 or 5 things that they wanted in the community. They talked about job training and placement programs. They talked about having something for their youth and to have something positive in their life. They talked about affordable housing. They talked about entrepreneurial opportunities, and they talked about health care. Normally in our economy, in our nation, those still rank in the top 5 of any movement and any community needs still.
Oh, yes.
So we're really excited about that. And one of the things that we're really excited about was that no one was really talking about social services. They really were reflecting on economic development. Help me put on a pair of boots, tie to strap them up, and I can pull up my own pants as well. Just give me a hand up, not a hand out. So we were really excited that the community was talking about economic development opportunities, and that birthed the CDC of Tampa into what it is today.
And how large is it? You said $6 million in assets?
Yes. So we've grown from a volunteer-led based organization to having more of a corporate structure and actually being not only in the communities that we started in, but now we service all of Hillsborough County. So we have about 22 staff on board, and we do all types of services. Again, the job training and placement is one of our core.
So you still, though, use volunteers, is that correct?
That's correct. So now our volunteers, because we have several different lines of businesses, we look for volunteers to come in with those special skills that can help. So for example, one of the reasons people don't have jobs is they may not have a strong resume, or they haven't gone through an interview style type of interviewing, boardroom style interview. So if we have volunteers who work in HR, volunteers who are managers who can come in and help a person put together their resume.
Almost like the service corps of retired executives,
Exactly.
people that are retired maybe who want to develop and help other people.
Exactly.
Great
So,
idea.
Yeah, so whatever your skill sets are, there's a place for you in the CDC of Tampa. If you're a retired banker, you know, we help people do their returns and help them understand financial literacy and how to budget. If you're a previous mentor, you know, you can come in and mentor some of our youth. So we always have great opportunities. If we just have a green thumb, we come in and we do plantings, we plant trees, and we do all
Really?
kind of great things in the community as well.
Well, you know, as many people are in lawn care in this area, that's really a definite job.
Definitely, definitely. So we're always excited that, you know, whatever your skill set is, there's a place for you to work with the CDC of Tampa.
If you walk into an organization, what do you ask of them? You've got a whole list of partners here. I noticed that you have schools as partners, you have other organizations. What have you asked of them to partner with you?
So over the years, we've become very adept at what we do. And as I said, some of our core beliefs is you have to have a paycheck to make a difference in your life, to have that dignity. So for us, our theory of change starts around having a paycheck. So a lot of our partners help in the job training and placement arenas. They may help in career advancement. So some of our partners are HCC, Hillsborough Community College, Tampa Housing Authority, the school district itself. Imagine this, that the school district also makes sure that it has community partners to make sure that we have our hands wrapped around our youth, so the youth don't feel like they're in this thing by themselves. And it goes beyond just the classroom setting. We have to make sure that when they go home, that the parents have a great job at the house. Some of our kids
Have a job
have a job, exactly.
instead of getting a welfare check.
Exactly.
I mean, let's face it, folks, there are people who are going to have welfare checks and rightly deserve them, because I think we have to take care of the least in our society, and a judgment of a societal beyond that. How well do we do that? But it's nice if they have a role model that's actually going to work every day.
Exactly. And those were really created as safety nets. So all of us may go through a time where we may be unemployed, or a time where, you know, we need some help. But those are safety net programs. We want to make sure that people have the dignity of going to work and providing for their families, and making sure that they can show their kids and their young ones, their loved ones as well, that there is a better day tomorrow, and to start thinking about retirement. You know, a lot of the things that we've kind of talked about, you know, in the early 90s, the average household income in East Tampa was $5,000.
Really?
Imagine trying to have dignity on $5,000.
When was that?
In 1992.
Still not anywhere close to dignity, even in $92.
And you look at today, that hasn't really changed that much. You're talking about still the lower levels of poverty. People in poverty are around $10,000 to $15,000 per year. That number hasn't changed that much. And having dignity on $15,000 a day, $15,000 a year, there's no way possible. So what we do with our partners, we come together and say, hey, how can we help the situation? Are there career advancement opportunities? Vocational skills that can be gained, GED skills, graduating from high school, having the employer partners who are willing to give people an opportunity to show their skills and earn that paycheck and have that dignity that we're all talking about.
Education is the key.
Education is the key.
I mean, really, you need the education if you're going anywhere.
And, you know, oftentimes we talk about education as being the great equalizer. We go a step further and say, not only is it the great equalizer, it's the great liberator. That an education can pave a way that no other thing can in your life.
You're right.
Yeah.
Fully. I really think that we miss the boat when we miss our kids.
Definitely.
And we don't get them started off on the right track. One of the things that I like very much, speaking of the school system, are these vocational schools they have out there,
Yes.
which we used to call vocational schools. They have other titles. Political correctness has caused them to have different names.
Right.
But they're still vocational school. It teaches them a vocation.
Definitely. So what we started noticing in the neighborhoods, of course, we've always had our youth programs, and we were helping our kids get prepared to go to college. So the majority of our kids who've gone off to college were the first in their generation to ever go off to college. So we've had well over 600 kids go off to college. In our community, only 50% of our kids even graduated from high school, right? So we wanted to make sure we were having kids go on to college. But as you mentioned, the vocational schools, what we also started
I think we overlooked that.
realizing is that 50% who was not graduating from high school, we have to have an answer for them as well. Not everyone is interested in going to college, one, because of the cost of burden of what it costs academically, and maybe that's just not your interest. But everyone needs to be able to put their hands to a skill. So one of the things that we did at the CDC of Tampa is we created Tampa Vocational Institute.
Really?
It's a vocational school.
Tell me about that.
That
'Cause I
focuses.
I love to go visit those facilities.
You definitely have to, and we have to set that. We really were birthed out of the necessity of having short-term certifications. So through the recession, we were always helping people with their soft skills and job readiness skills. And then we started realizing that you were competing against people with 17, 18, 25 years of experience,
Sure.
some master's degrees and all these other things.
And there weren't that many jobs.
Right, and
at
there
that
wasn't that
point.
many
Yeah.
jobs. So how do you differentiate yourself and enter into a competitive market? It's through the vocational training. So we provide industry recognized certifications. So today, Tampa Vocational Institute is offering CNG, compressed natural gas maintenance training programs. So the things that you see in the community right now is a lot of the transit operators are changing over to compressed natural
Exactly,
gas.
yeah. And
So-
more of the long haulers.
Exactly, and a lot of the long haulers. So we partner with HART, our local transit operator, to provide that training for them. So now we're moving people into jobs starting at $15 an hour or more. What does that mean for that family? So by having these short-term certifications where you can go to work, get your certification within 6 to 10 weeks and come out making $15 an hour at least is a tremendous asset to the community. And that's really why the CDC of Tampa and all these partners really start coming together.
Yeah, you mentioned $15 an hour. That's kind of a cause to celebrate for me. When I look at somebody going and working a 40-hour week, and sometimes 50 and 60 hours,
Right,
and still can't afford a place to put their head.
right.
It's just wrong.
Definitely. And when you look at one of the burdens that most people have is most of their income goes to housing. So if you make less than $15 an hour, it's very difficult to afford a family and pay for housing and start saving for any emergencies. So that's why we really created the vocational school. It's short-term in nature, but it also offers you the ability to get a competitive salary. And specifically for people who may not have the 4-year college degree or the master's degree to rely on. Graduating from high school and then having a certification that can help you to be competitive. I remember the days when my parents and grandparents could live off of one salary. Those days are long gone. Our economy has totally changed. So the things that the CDC is involved with is making sure that there's affordability in every component of a person's life. So we also build affordable housing.
Really?
Yes. So we want to
Tell
make
me about
sure.
that.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that we began to look at is, again, most people pay an absorbent amount in rent when they could be owning. They pay more than 66% or 50% of their income on housing. The standard is you should pay no more than a third of your income on housing.
Yeah, I remember when it used to be
Yes.
a week's pay.
A week's pay, yes, that's
Yeah.
what they used to say. So we want to make sure that people have the ability to access housing where they're not paying more than a third of their income for housing. So we build affordable housing, and we partner with the City of Tampa. We partner with Hillsborough County, and they help to provide some funding for us to be able to do that. We bring in state and federal dollars as well, and we really make sure that people have that kind of decency that they're looking for.
Do you use your students that are going through these vocational programs to do any of the building of these?
Yeah, so what we do is we're a very comprehensive organization, and what you just touched on was the ability to really leverage all of our activities that we're doing. So the students who are going through our vocational training for construction actually get hired by some of our general contractors and subcontractors. We partnered with Tampa Family Health Centers at one point, and when they built this facility on 22nd Street, we had 8 of our students hired on that project.
Really?
Yes. And some of the guys, if you can imagine, these grown men who've gone through a lot of things and trying to get a job, crying and saying, we appreciate this opportunity. And we still have some of those guys who are still working with those same subcontractors as well. So we're very excited about our opportunity to really transform lives, to change lives, and also to begin to create neighbors. That's what we're really doing. We're creating neighbors again by putting someone in a home where they can afford that home, and then putting someone next to them. Their kids grow up together, going to the same schools.
And keep the neighborhood from deteriorating.
Exactly.
Because you've got a home ownership rather than a rental relationship.
Exactly, and that's what it's all about. So, to condense what we really do, we're really creating neighbors again, which was really, one of the fabrics of America was, there's always, if you needed a cup of sugar,
oh yeah,
you can go next door.
I live on a great street. There are like 10 houses, 11 houses on our street, but everybody knows everybody.
Exactly.
And I guess you could say they know too much about each other, but they're wonderful. I leave my garage door up at night. I get a phone call about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock saying, hey, do you know you put your garage door still up, Bill?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And you get that phone call.
Yeah.
I remember our best friend. Our best friend was the person that we met in kindergarten. And we all grew up together, going to all the middle schools and the high schools together. And then even after college, coming back, and we're still best friends. That's the type of fabric that we're trying to recreate back in Tampa, Florida.
Well, that's what really creates a neighborhood, is having everybody working together and getting to know each other. I think you find that more, now I live in a senior community, you find that more where you have kids and the kids are interlacing with each other.
Yes.
And so the parents do by going to PTA and
yes.
football games and so forth.
Yeah, so imagine where we're all getting engaged again, where parents can stand up in front of their children and know that they have a good paying job and can teach their children, certain principles in life, where kids know that they can graduate from high school and either, get a job or go on to college. We're starting to get back to that hope factor again, where, you can begin to really hope that your life will be better by maintaining those statutes in life.
What do you think are some of the biggest successes that you've had along the way? You as an individual, but also the organization. What do you take real pride in?
There are so many different success stories, and they all are unique and different in and of themselves. And in fact, one of the things that we're really pushing now is called #365wins.
#365wins, all right.
Every single day, the CDC of Tampa and its partners are creating wins here in Tampa, Florida. It could be someone that we helped stay out of foreclosure and they actually stay in their home. And we've had seniors who told me, Mr. Coney, your organization has blessed me. I can keep my home that I raised my family in 2 generations deep. And on Sunday, we're going to say grace again in the house that I raised them in, what that means for them.
Oh, that means a lot for them and the entire community.
Definitely. I had a disabled veteran who was told that his disability check wouldn't help him to afford the American dream. And by coming to our organization, he said that he finally had hope again, that someone cared.
Well, you give them financial counseling too, along the way. Isn't that part of it?
Exactly, and that's a huge component of it. We have this concept called earn it, keep it, grow it. So earn it is really about how do you maintain a paycheck, and increase your earnings. But keep it.
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. That's the part that we as a community really need to be educated on. So we've heard the old saying, it's not how much you make, it's how much you save.
You get to keep it, that's right.
So we want to make sure that people really understand household budgeting and to know that we have the bank partners out there. One of the things in the inner city where lower economic statuses are concentrated, sometimes wealth escapes the families by having to go to a pawn shop or a payday loan center to get your check cashed. We want to make sure that we tell people, hey, you have banking partners who are willing to work with you as well, so we can keep those checks. And by the way, not only do I want retirement for myself, I want to make sure that my neighbor who has gotten that new $15 an hour job also begins to plan for retirement as well.
You made me think one of the best pieces of advice I received a number of years ago. I was working for NCR, and a guy named John Petrie called me and he said, Bill, I'm going to give you a raise. And I said, whoa, great, I could use a raise. He said, no, but what I'm going to ask you to do with it is put that raise in the bank.
Right.
I don't want you to change your status. I want you to put it in the bank. And I said, but John, he said, no, that's the best thing you can do. When you get 2 years of salary in the bank, then you own your job. You can do anything you want and be your own man. And that was one of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me. And he went on to tell me, he said, you know, sadly, we all get, and at the time it was $5 and $10 a week raises.
Right.
We get a $5 a week raise. And so instead of buying institutional toilet paper, we buy Northern. And we buy a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and pretty quick, you're still using toilet paper. It's just more expensive. You're flushing down the drain.
Right.
And you don't have anything left.
Right. So,
and that's the way it goes. And your kind of training will help people to see that.
Definitely. And those are the things that we're really here for. So certain people get earned income tax credits as well. So depending on your income, you also get a tax credit at the end of the year when you do your returns. Well, what do you do with that money? You want to make sure you save it and begin to grow it. It's the third component of it. So earn it, keep it, and then grow it. So once you understand how to keep it, you actually then want to learn how to grow it.
A lot of people don't know the rule of 72.
Yes, exactly.
And if they learn that rule, it makes a big difference.
Exactly. So we want
and
to
I'm not going to explain that to you. You can go look it up. The rule of 72. But if you ever want to have any finance in your life, that's one thing you need to know.
And that's what we want to introduce these concepts to folks early. Imagine people in high school learning these concepts. So as they graduate and get a job, that money is making money for them a lot earlier. And it's never too late. You know, even for us folks who are a little bit older, I consider myself a little bit older now as well, that it's never too late. And those are the concepts and the partnerships that we really want to bring to make sure that we begin to maintain the wealth in the household, to be able to save for college tuition, to be able to save for retirement, all those things that we sometimes take for granted coming from upper middle class and middle class families sometimes.
Yeah, family wealth.
Exactly.
And if you look at the really wealthy families, they're compounding that wealth constantly.
Exactly.
It keeps them on the top.
Exactly.
And if you don't ever start, you'll never finish.
You never get there, right? So that's what we really do. We really value the family, and we consider the family creative. So sometimes in community development, you can start with a negative really analysis, and we don't do that. We don't do a deficit-based analysis. We don't say what's missing with the family. We don't say what's missing in our community. We start with the asset. What do we have to work with?
Yes.
What are the assets that you have, and build around those components.
Exactly.
So
makes so much. That makes so much more sense than saying, "Well, look, you don't have this, you don't have that." That just pulls you down.
Exactly.
It certainly doesn't build hope.
Exactly. Exactly. So what you do have, and really building around that, and considering yourself creative, and really talking with the families, that's what we're really about. So again, to all of our partners, HCC, Tampa Housing Authority, the Crisis Center, the Salvation Army.
You realize you're going to leave somebody out, right?
I know I'm in trouble already. I know I'm in trouble already because we have 17 partners in this Economic Prosperity Center model.
You want the list from back here?
But, shout out to all of them. But we really want to make a difference in moving the needle in poverty.
You can blame me now if you didn't mention them because I got...
Please call Bill.
But all these people are important to you, and you're important to them or they wouldn't partner with you.
Exactly. So, we've started this journey together on really how we can move the needle on poverty. We've reached certain milestones in our country. We've reached the milestone of the 50th year on the war on poverty. But fundamentally, have we really changed?
We're losing.
How we approach poverty?
We're losing.
So I think that
I'm sorry.
Exactly. So I think that the Economic Prosperity Center model is a fundamentally new way of looking at how we deal with poverty. We have to call families creative and look at what assets they do have, and then help them tie up their bootstraps, if you will, so they can go about the business of creating their goals and achieving their goals.
Got to make sure they're healthy.
Yes.
There's all kinds of things we have to do with people before we criticize them for taking that check.
Exactly. And that's what our partners do. So no matter where a person is, if they're about to miss their last payment on their house.
So how do they get in touch with you? And what can they call you for? If I'm out of work, can I call you?
Definitely.
Okay.
Just put us on speed dial. So there's two ways of contacting us. One is our website, which is www.cdcoftampa.org.
And we're putting that up on the screen.
And we'll put that up on the screens, thank you. And also our phone number, area code 813-231-4362. And Bill, we have some of the greatest staff. I have to acknowledge our staff back at the office as well with the CDC of
Now,
Tampa.
careful naming them unless you can do all 22 of them.
We won't go through all 22 right now. But I have to say that sometimes as a CEO, you kind of get the limelight.
Exactly.
But the folks back at the office are the ones who are really creating those miracles and really creating that change that we're all looking for.
I remember the line from Winston Churchill where they were giving them all the accolades for winning the war and so forth. And he said, no, the British people were the lion. I was privileged to express the roar.
Right, exactly.
And I see that in your eyes.
And
you
that's
feel
my
that
honor.
way
Yes.
about the people in your organization.
Yes, and they are passionate. Of course, you know, in working in this industry, you don't sometimes make the top salary that you can in the private sector. But we're here for a reason. And we know that our people are passionate, and that gives hope to the clients as they come in to know that our people are there because they want to see them do well. So again, shout out to the CDC of Tampa staff and all the collaborative partners that we have.
You know, I think you made another very good point, Ernest. You've made a number of very good points along the way, is that a man shouldn't be judged by how much money he made, but rather what doors he opened for everyone else.
Exactly. And if we can take that principle, imagine each one of us.
And that's
taking
what
that
your
principle.
organization is all about,
Yes.
is opening these doors.
Opening doors and opportunities. That's the only thing that we really talk about is, you know, if you come into our doors and you are pure in your intentions, you really want to get a good job, you want to see your kids do well, you want to change your environment, you want to change your behaviors, we're here for you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would suggest to you that you go ahead and look at the website, CDC of Tampa, and see if there's anything in there that first can help you, second, you can help them, or maybe you're an organization that will partner with it. Ernest, thank you for being on the program today. We really appreciate your being here representing CDC of Tampa. I'm Bill Hodges. You're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often you know because you are. We'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government program. And again, thanks for being with us, Ernest.
Thanks for the invite.